Hi, welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. I'm Mark Graban, and today we're doing another in our series where we are talking to recipients of the Nexie Awards as given by KaiNexus at our recent KaiNexicon user conference. And today we are joined by one of those winners, Justin Self. He's the Performance Improvement Manager at Barnes Jewish Hospital, which is part of BJC Health. Justin, thanks for joining us here today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Mark.
So it'd be great to hear a little bit about your journey there at BJC Healthcare. But first, I want to tell everybody about Justin's Honorary KaiNexian Award as received recently. That award's awarded to the person who embodies the spirit of a champion, champion for improvement, a champion for KaiNexus. Justin's a long-term advocate of KaiNexus and how our platform fits into their work. His continuous improvement approach challenges our platform to grow for his team's benefit, for the organization's benefit, and for the benefit of all of our future users. So as it said in the award ceremony, Justin's got a reputation within KaiNexus for giving it to us straight, giving us great feedback with kindness and patience. So it's really, it's like you're a part of our team, and we're grateful for that. So again, congratulations and thank you for all of that, Justin.
Thank you very much.
So it'd be great to hear about the continuous improvement journey, depending on how you frame that in terms of terminology and methodology and how that's been going.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I've been working with Barnes Jewish Hospital for a little over 10 years now. Continuous improvement journey there really predated me by quite a bit. Actually, they've been working on continuous improvement for decades, and it really has been a journey. I like that you mentioned the word growth, because that's really what a lot of it has been about, is growing in our knowledge of continuous improvement, and growing and figuring out how to make that work within our organization. And I'd say more recently, even I'll go into that a little bit, is growing into what does this look like across our whole health system, not just at an individual hospital. As far as how we use KaiNexus, we started using KaiNexus, I think it's been about 8 years ago now. And we actually kind of had very much I would call it a grassroots effort, where we were working on continuous improvement, working on, using paper idea boards, putting a card up on the board and kind of moving across the different statuses and trying to track things there. And hit a point where it was too much to manage. Couldn't handle it all on paper. We weren't able to stay on top of things. Things would get lost. Just wasn't working well for us. So that's when we started looking for some other solutions and came across KaiNexus. And so we actually really just started using the system at that local problem solving level to just kind of do our idea boards and figure out how to get those frontline improvements into the system. Mm-hmm. So we used the system for that for about 4 years. And then about 4 years ago, we started to move into more of the top-down improvement and try to figure out, okay, how do we use a system like this to help improve our management of our overall continuous improvement portfolio? Mm-hmm. So we started with our operational excellence team, kind of our centralized services team, to manage their work, and then started bringing in other centralized services teams, our strategy team, and other groups that support the whole system. And that kind of took us down a whole nother path of, okay, now how do we set up the system? How do we use it in such a way that we can support the efforts of the whole organization and this top-down workflow versus the bottom-up workflow? Mm-hmm. So it has been a long growth journey, you could call it.
Yeah. And with being part of such a large health system, how important is the idea of standardization, both within, let's say, clinical work and other processes, and standardization of how improvement work is taking place?
Absolutely. That's been a key for us. And I think as we've gone through the process of trying to figure out how to do this, it's even highlighted some areas where we weren't as standardized as we'd like to be. So a lot of the conversations we've started to have is, if you have 2 or 3 different teams that are doing improvement work, but they've kind of been given the independence to do it their own way. And then when we try to start talking to each other and try to start bringing this information together in one unified system, you couldn't do that if it wasn't standardized. Mm-hmm. And so trying to figure out how to set up KaiNexus to support these processes forced us to have some of those standardization conversations that, okay, how do we want to do this? We really need to pick one way. We can't do 6 different ways. And so it led some really great conversations. And then once you hard code it into the system, then it also helps kind of with that reinforcement loop of saying, okay, now we're all going to do it this way because this is the way we built the system. So it's I think it's helped on both ends. It's helped on the front end of having the right conversations to figure out how do we standardize, and then helps on the back end to help reinforce that standardization.
Mhm. And I think with any standardized work approach, it can still evolve. You can still continuously improve that approach. Again,
Absolutely.
whether it's clinical workflows or the approach with KaiNexus. Hard-coded doesn't mean carved in stone, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's been a lot of the fun of the process, actually, I think, is there is a lot of back and forth where we're talking through things. And, I think we've talked before about the idea of, in my mind, I kind of think of KaiNexus as a big pile of Lego bricks almost. There's lots of different options, lots of different functionality, and we can get creative in how we fit all those different pieces together. And there are a lot of back and forth conversations where, maybe we come to you guys and say, hey, here's something we'd like to do. How can we make it work? Maybe you have the functionality, maybe you don't, maybe it comes in a later release, that sort of thing. So there's a good feedback loop there. But then it works the other way as well, where sometimes I'll be talking about a general concept, and Kaylee, my CSM, will come back and say, hey, have you thought about doing it this way? I have another customer that did something like this, and we can kind of learn from each other. So it's a really great feedback loop to kind of work through the creative process of making it work the way we want to.
Yeah. And thanks for the shout out to Kaylee as a customer success manager, part of that team at KaiNexus. And hopefully within the Lego blocks analogy, there's no part of that analogy that involves stepping on one in the middle of the night. Right?
Yeah, we try to avoid that.
But I know Kaylee and others help you avoid that. That's part of the customer success mission.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me on Lego Talk. No, I'm saying that would be a different podcast. But Justin, thank you for being here on the KaiNexus podcast. Thank you for the collaboration. We really do value the product ideas and the improvement ideas, and we appreciate the work that you do and for working with us. So again, congratulations on the Nexie Award, and thanks for being here to share with us today.
Thank you for having me.